Welcome to Industry Outlook presented by Expeditors Online and Jung Express. I'm your host, Brandon Baxter. My guest today is Rob Podeszwa. He heads up recruiting and carrier relations with Jung Express. Rob, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm great. Hey, you're welcome. It's good to be here with you.
Glad to have you here. It's about time, right? Let's get you guys some good run here with Expeditors Online. Love to have Jung Express. You guys have been with us for quite some time. With that said, Rob, let's invite the audience to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up with Jung Express and what you do.
Sure. I was in the engineering world for about 5 years. Did marine construction, built beaches, dredged harbors, built seawalls all over the country. Left that, then I met my wife, decided to settle down, went into the family business, which was golf retail. I ran our family store for about 12 years then. After that, jumped into home inspection, did home inspections for about 4 years. Then next stage was, then I jumped into selling cars. Did that for about 8 years.
Boy.
So a little of everything there.
Okay.
Over that time, John Jung, the owner of our company, I've known him. He's one of my best friends. I've known him over 30 years. Our families vacation together. He's my prayer partner. Him and I taught junior high Sunday school for years.
Oh, wow.
So a good close friend. He'd been asking me for years to come work for him. I'm like, no, not working for you, not working for my friend. But when I was selling cars, I was looking for something else. And he talked to me about fleet ownership, getting a fleet of vans together. And, he would get me the freight. And so my son was in college at the time. I decided, he didn't want to be in college anymore. So I thought, well, I'll buy a van, put my son in it. He can drive. I'll learn the business. I'll recruit more drivers then, build my fleet that way. Bought the van. My son decided he didn't want to do that. So I'm like, well, I got a van. I always loved road tripping. Best way to recruit is to find the experience. So I jumped in the van. Plan was drive for about 6 months. And I went over the road and I absolutely loved it. It was spectacular. Awesome. I ended up doing it for 3 years. Put 400,000 miles on my van, hit 41 out of the 48 states. It was awesome. It was like one big long camping trip. And everywhere I went, I recruited drivers and had about 8 vans under me. When the recruiting position then opened up here at Jung, my wife works here. She works in our collections department. And due to family reasons, we decided for me to come off the road and take this position. So my drivers all got absorbed into Jung, and now I've been the recruiter here for the last 7 years. So,
7 years. That's a pretty good run for a recruiter.
That's the short version, though.
That's the short version. Let's talk for a moment about, the current need for Sprinter vans, just, specifically for the expedite industry.
Sure. There's always a need for them. The thing with this industry, it goes up and down like a roller coaster.
Course.
And because drivers, they're independent contractors, they come and go. There's so many variables with this industry. And so that's why we're always looking for sprinters. The industry itself is just like a big scale. You've got, amount of freight on one side, number of vans on the other.
Yep.
And when freight is when freight's higher than vans, everybody's making money, everybody's running, everybody's great, it's wonderful, everybody's happy. But then all those van drivers go out and make YouTube videos and tell everybody how awesome this is, how spectacular it is. So then everybody goes out and buys a van. And then the number of vans go way up. And when you have more vans than freight, then everybody's not making as much money. They're not getting many miles, not making as much money. So then they get out of it, so then the scales tip back the other way. So that's why it's constantly in flux.
Let's say, for example, I'm an owner operator. I've got a Sprinter van and I had been running under my own authority, or maybe I still have my own authority. What can I do, or what could Jung Express do to help me if that's possible?
Sure. I always say not every van's for every company, not every company's for every van. Because we all do things a little bit different. for all the different logistics companies out there, we all do things a little bit different. With us, we treat our drivers that we sign on, we treat them as true independent contractors. So we don't require them to be exclusive to us. So they can still have their own authority. If they want to, if they're going to be on, the load boards, they want to try getting their own freight, that's fine. They can still be signed on with us too.
Wow.
Depends on what load boards they're on, because there's some that we won't allow.
Sure, sure.
But they, so we let them be a true independent contractor. So, they don't have to put our signage on. They don't have to be exclusive to us. And we're going to get them freight. As I said, we're always looking for drivers. We're always looking for vans.
Let's go back to around 2012. And I think this is something you and I talked about the other day, but I thought, again, just from my own, vantage point back then, was I thought that I was seeing a lot of vans coming into the industry, but at that time you had a lot of, your standard cargo vans, not just the sprinters, right? So if you could talk a little bit about that, why do you believe that there was such an introduction or influx of these type of vans at that time?
So you basically, if you wanted that really large sprinter van, you only had the sprinter, which is, actually a brand name.
Right.
Otherwise it was the smaller cargo vans, which were like 2 pallet vans. The sprinter could handle 3, but it didn't have that high of a payload. Well, then you had, Nissan started making the NV.
Right.
And then I think in 14, Ram came out with their version of the sprinter style van. And then 2015, Ford came out. So that under 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating is just huge in the world of expedited freight, because you have no DOT regulations. So when we can, for expedited freight, when now you have these bigger vehicles that can handle 3 pallets, sometimes 4 smaller pallets or whatever, and they have no DOT regs, so they can drive all day long. And it just, that's outstanding for the world of expedited freight. The cargo van and sprinter vans are the easiest to get into, because you don't need the CDL, less of an expense getting into it. But what I really strive to tell these guys is, you're an independent contractor. You're starting a business. Come up with a good business plan. That's the thing with these guys. The guys that succeed versus the guys who don't succeed are the guys who have a good business plan. They learn the industry, and then they tailor their business plan to fit the industry. Versus the guys that come and go really quickly.
Right.
They want the industry to change to fit their business plan. And, that's not going to happen.
Right. Right. If I were, Johnny viewer on the street that sees one of these videos, and maybe I contact, Jung Express, says, hey, I want to get into a sprinter van. How would you approach, a conversation like that?
Guys will call me up or whatever, and hey, I'm looking to do this or whatever. Okay, what got you interested in? Well, I watched some videos. Oh boy, here we go. I explained to them, you have to look at it long term, not short term. You have to come up with your business plan and a long-term plan for your business. And when they're watching videos, look at who's making the video. Okay, if it's a person who's been doing this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and they're making a video, that's a very small sample size. That's not accurate to how the industry is. Because as I said, this industry goes up and down like a roller coaster. And I'll tell our drivers, you're going to have weeks where you're going to go load after load after load after load. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, dispatch is trying to kill me here. I need a break. And then you're going to get loads or weeks where it's much slower. And you're like, oh man, dispatch forgot about me. Who did I take off?
And if you're not prepared,
they're working just as hard. We want to move as much freight as possible, but that's the world of expedited freight. It's a roller coaster. So if you base your business plan only on best case scenarios, you're going to fail because it's not sustainable.
That's just not how the expedite world is built. I mean, that I've had those conversations too, Rob. I can tell you just from experience, trying to explain to somebody that when they've already got it made up in their mind that I need to hit this, that, or the other, and it's not going to be available for the type of industry that this actually is.
When they create their business plan, you have to come up with realistic expectations for your business, and you have to look at it long term, not short term. And you have to look at it. It is a business. You know, and you got to get your business up and off the ground and get it running. And guys, the guys who look short term don't last. The guys who look long term, they're in it for a long time. They do very, very well. When you're starting your business, work hard. I know that sounds crazy.
Right.
You're going to have to struggle. You have to get your business up and running with it. And there are so many variables involved. That's why when you start off your business, run like crazy, stay out there, limit your expenses to build up your business account. Because again, when it's high, the industry's going, stay out there, make the money, because then it covers you when it goes down. And unfortunately, those are the pitfalls that I see with guys is they're making money, they're spending the money, and then it goes down or something bad happens and they don't have the money. Look at it as a business. Get your business off the ground and everything and work hard. Put the time in. You know, and again, it's learn the industry and tailor your business to fit the industry.
What is it that Jung is looking for right now? Yeah, I mean, obviously the Sprinter vans.
Yeah, again, we work with everything: cargo vans, sprinters, straights, and tractors. Because the industry as a whole is kind of down right now, what that does allow me is to be more selective as to who I'll sign. It's not as crazy as when, you know, in 2021 where freight was nuts and we needed every able van we could find.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, now it is, you know, you could be a little bit more selective, and I want to make sure we want our drivers to be successful. We want them to be very successful. And so it's trying to educate them so that they are successful at it. We have direct customers, we have partner carriers. We do everything we can to move as much freight as possible, keep vans moving. But it's a roller coaster ride. It always has been, and it always will be.
Well, Rob, before we wrap on today's discussion, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Good question. No.
Out of all of them, that's the one that stumped you.
There's a lot of different aspects to this industry. Find the right fit. And then you'll succeed.
Well, Rob, it really has been a pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for joining me. And this has been Industry Outlook. It's been presented by Expeditors Online and Jung Express. I've been your host, Brandon Baxter. Until next time.